At around the age of 10, 12, I realized that I couldn't fit into any box of identity that the society had made for me. As time passed by, I was conditioned more and more into believing that I was wrong and did not deserve to live a dignified life. I felt suffocated to form a false illusion of my identity just to get validated by the society, to pretend to be what I was not, until one decision changed my life. Hi, I'm MX Ria Sharma, and I do not hesitate to say that I'm lesbian and gender fluid. Although there was a time in my life where I would literally shiver at the thought of telling this to anybody, even to myself. Why? Why was it so hard for me to accept what I was? Why is it still hard for some people to agree that humans like me exist? Conditioning. Conditioning has the magnificent power to affect every human's mindset on this world. While we might be negatively conditioned literally every day of our life, we still choose to be blind puppets to it. But what exactly is this? How exactly does conditioning work? We are constantly learning and gaining new knowledge in our life to achieve our dreams and to also bring about a change in the society. While conditioning also involves learning about new concepts, sometimes it can become a parasite that stops you from adapting to new knowledge and proceed. After a point of time, we become constant and stagnant with a way of thinking and eventually become unreasonable and outdated. We are conditioned in religion, gender, caste, sexuality, how one has to behave, what is proper, what is not, what is appropriate. After a point of time, we need to decondition ourselves, delve into it, and realize that we are merely following what was said to us and paving way for more injustice. For example, when a baby is born, we tend to assign the color blue to boys and pink to girls. But does it mean that the child has to hate the color of the other gender? Does it mean that if a boy grows up to like the color pink, he is less of a man? No, not at all. Now, let's discuss about something that we all must have witnessed, but perhaps chose to not talk about it, bother about it. Do you remember the first time you met a hijra person and you felt intimidated just by their looks? Do you remember that one guy who was a little feminine and the girl who was a little masculine was bullied in the class and no one said nothing? Do you remember that one character in a movie who was a little feminine, who wore floral clothes and it felt absolutely okay to humiliate them? We all witnessed this. We witnessed the pain and injustice, but chose to not talk about it. Because we weren't supposed to, right? We were taught that these people were wrong, dirty, by media, by films. In fact, the stories by our own relatives, parents. The LGBT community is one of the most tabooed communities in our country. From the society's hostile and violent behavior towards us, to the basic fundamental rights that we don't have, every day is a fight. A fight against the society which constantly targets the identity of people who are different. Another way of forming notions about a certain community is to not talk about it enough. People are unaware, ignorant. They don't know what's right, what's wrong. And they feel that it's insignificant to them. Section 377 was struck down in 2018 and lives have changed. Just legally. We are not criminals anymore. But how our lives would be is not guaranteed. People are still hostile, even violent towards the members of the community. They are unaware. They have certain myths. And they are even violent sometimes. So what do we do? How do we become good allies to the community? By breaking down all the notions, stereotypes, myths that we have formed of the community over the period of time, and putting an effort to making ourselves and people around us aware about what's true and what's wrong. So let's start with discussing something and educate ourselves. The LGBT community stay in the closet, suffocated, isolated, uncomfortable because they do not have the freedom to express themselves openly. Myths like it is a phase, it's a disease, and it's treatable is so prevalent in our country that some of us believe it true and try to get it treated. Conversion therapies. Therapies that claim to treat someone's identity by supernatural energies or even painful shocks. Corrective rape. Getting a homosexual woman raped because someone thinks that they haven't experienced it. And many other forms of violence is used by people to treat someone's identity. Some of you are lefties. Some of you are righties. Some of you are dark by complexion, some fair. Some somewhere in the between. Some have a sixth finger in their hand. Similarly, some are gay, some are straight, and others can belong anywhere in the spectrum. We need to realize that these are just variations that do not need to be corrected. Being gay, being straight, being bisexual, being trans, being non-binary is as innate and normal to a person as being lefty or righty. These do not need to be corrected because they're absolutely, innately correct. Another myth that we break here is that gender is same as sex. Now that is a huge myth. Sex is not same as gender and they cannot be used interchangeably. Sex is what you're biologically born as, what you're assigned at birth. But gender is what you feel about yourself, which you identify and understand over a period of time. I was assigned female at birth, but I realized that I was gender fluid. Now, both gender or sex is not binaries. There are not just two sexes in the world, and gender is actually a spectrum. Prefixes or pronouns are not binary too. I am MX Ria Sharma, and MX is a gender-neutral prefix. My pronouns are they and them and not she or he. But why do we need to understand all this? It's so complicated. Because this is the first step towards inclusivity. A first step towards creating a safe space for people who identify differently. One more argument that we get a lot of times in our country is that it has come from the West. It's a modern phenomenon. Have we forgotten the beautiful past of our country? Have we forgotten the beautiful scripts, the epics, the histories that our country has produced? There were different identities, diversity of identities, which were accepted and embraced. For example, the beautiful feminine avatars of male gods. The beautiful story of Aravan and Krishna, where Krishna converts into a female for Aravan. And the beautiful life story of Shikhandi. Every religion propagated the idea of love and respect. It was us who created stereotypes, phobias, hate. So I get all of this. I understand all of this. But I have one question. When do we start to teach the next generation, the kids, about such concepts? Well, let's start to teach them basic love and empathy. Let's teach them that no matter how their friend expresses themselves, they are to be respected and considered one among them. Let's teach them that love is beautiful and hate is destructive. Well, I think that children are better off than us. They originally do not differentiate their friends. They differentiate others on the basis of how the other person behaves with them, and not on the basis of what the other person's religion is, how the person looks. So perhaps we need to decondition ourselves and get to the basics of love and respect. One decision that changed my life, as I told you in the beginning, was to not think about what the society would think of me, how the society would treat me, and stand strong and have a voice for my community. Well, I always say that I am very fortunate and privileged. My family and friends have accepted me and my identity. I remember that when my parents accepted me and my sexuality, I knew that they will always be with me as a support and as a shield. One more person that transformed my life was my partner. Like any heterosexual relationships, we have had our lovely ups and extreme downs. But no matter what happened, we stood by each other at every step. But no matter how much I love her, no matter how committed and devoted we are towards each other, we won't be able to experience some beautiful, special moments of our life. Marriage, children. I want to ask you something. Do you really think that love should have any conditions? I don't think so. So let's understand the true meaning of love and respect. Let's not get caught amidst the war of different religions, sex, sexuality, or speciesism. We are moving towards a better society where respect prevails, but it won't be possible if each one of us do not stand strong and become allies for each other. Humanity is the key. A human is nothing without humanity and everything being himself and being kind. Thank you.